Hey guys, welcome back. Today we are going to be talking about how to modify 3D files that are being used for costumes to make them fit better. We're going to use ZBrush. There's just a couple methods in ZBrush that I would use to adjust the files. And this is inspired by seeing the C3PO Builder group on Facebook and seeing how many people are just rescaling entire parts to fit them as opposed to making adjustments to the file. Now, I think a lot of people download files that are pre-modeled by somebody else, and they're kind of scared to get in there and edit those files. But I think that these steps are relatively easy to do. What I'm going to show you, I'm going to be using ZBrush today, but some of these features are available in like Maya, 3D Studio Max, Blender, etc. There are options in all those programs that work similarly to what I'm going to be doing in ZBrush. So without further ado, we should get to that. Oh, one thing I forgot to mention is that if you like this video, all of my other videos might be totally different from this point forward. So just remember that if you plan on subscribing, my other videos might be way different as far as topics. So anyway, without further ado, let's get to making some stuff in ZBrush. So boop, we'll switch down to this. There we go. I'm going to hide myself in the corner, so hopefully it's still going here. So we're in ZBrush. Let's see here. Should I grab any of these? Doesn't matter what document you're going to start with. We are going to import the Jesse M files for C3PO. We're going to do, I'll bring in the legs and the shorts. So let's see, import, and let's see, shorts. Here we go. Shorts, that's fine. Boop. So now we have this, and it's already set to edit mode. You can see, so we can manipulate the alignment and so forth. Now, I'm going to import the legs at the same time, so I think it'll be helpful for what we're doing if I maybe give a couple of examples of how this works. So I'll put the legs in here with the shorts because these are important pieces that interlock together. Let's see. So we're going to go back to import, but when you're in ZBrush, whenever you import an item in STL, if you hit import, it will replace your current subtool. So what we want to do is we're going to insert, I'm just going to put a cube in here for a new subtool, and I'm going to duplicate it a bunch of times so that we've got plenty of them to work with. It is on solo mode right now, which means that whichever one I'm selected on is the only one we're seeing. Now I'm going to import, let's do the thigh left, okay, boop. Then we have our left thigh, and we're going to select another cube here and import thigh right. Okay, boop. And another cube here. Let's do the import. Let's see, shin. There's left, and there's left, front, and back. I'm going to do the front and the back. If I just import the shin, it'll be basically the entire lower section of the leg is one piece. And I'm going to do it in two pieces just so I can demonstrate something here that's probably more important to people making costume modifications. So we're going to go left, back. Okay. And go here, next one. Make sure we're on C. The good thing about having on solo mode is that if I'm on a selected subtool, which is the back of this calf area here, that is the subtool that's selected, which means if I import again, I will be replacing it. So we want to make sure we're on one of these cubes. Import shin left front. Okay, and we got that. Repeat over here some more times. A little bit tedious, but this is part of the process. And we're going to see this in real time. I'm not going to edit this, so any flubs or hang-ups I have, you're going to watch it happen for me real time. So let's see, shin. What did I bring in before left? Shin right back. Let's shin right back. Okay, and okay, a little square. Import shin right front. Okay, now I got this extra cube here, which you're not going to need. I'm going to switch over to my tablet here, which I've always called Wacom for years, but apparently it's pronounced Wacom. I found that out years ago from one of the reps from the company, and I hate it. But guess that's the proper way to say it. So, take it off solo mode. We can see all these pieces that came in all crazy. So, let's organize this a little bit. Now, because the shorts are in the middle of the body, we're going to go to the shorts first. And we're going to go to transform mode, which is W. So Q is draw. See up in this corner. Draw is like if you want to edit and sculpt on stuff. Move is the W, which gives you the gizmo here. That way you can move stuff around or scale things. And we're going to get to that in a minute. But we're going to go to move. And we're going to go center this. Unlock this guy. And make sure everything is centered in place so that the gizmo is centered. And we're going to center this to the world, which it looks like it is. It's good. I'm going to do a little test here. Cool. Okay. We'll come back to that in a second. So that's centered. Now we're going to go to the thighs. Take it off solo mode. And we're going to check and make sure the left pieces are lined up, which you can see the lower part is not. We'll just move the thigh for right now because it's kind of easier. So line it back up to what looks correct. That seems about right. The tolerances in these little knees are really close. So anyway, we can get this like lined up as close as we can. Now we've got these pieces. What I'm going to do is I'm actually going to combine the thighs and the shins for now. And you can see that we have a front of a leg and we have a back of a leg. And we want those just to be in the same subtool. This is going to be helpful in a second. Hopefully you'll be able to see why. So I'm basically, to move these to the top of the stack, I hit shift and then I hit this little up arrow and it puts whatever piece I have selected to the very top. So I'm just going to move these up because it makes this part easier. I'm going to merge the shins together. I'm going to say merge down. Boop. Okay, so now this shin is just one piece. And I'm going to merge the thigh with that as well. Merge down. Okay. Boop. So now we've got the whole leg is hooked together. We'll turn our shorts back on for reference. And let's see where the other leg is at. Just see kind of what we are playing with here. So we'll turn off this leg. I'm just going to do the same thing with this leg as well. Now this leg already lines up when it comes in for whatever reason. I don't know why the other one's offset, but that makes it a little easier for us. We're going to do the same thing. Just merge down. I could hit always and skip, but if I bump that by accident, it's bad. I don't want to do that. So merge down. Okay. There we go. So now we've got our two legs and our shorts. We've got this extra thing, which I'm just going to delete for now. Let's turn everything back on. So in order to keep these kind of lined up, I'm going to mask the shorts, which is I've select a subtool, and I'm going to hit Control A or Command A if you're on a Mac. Go up here, and if you move these, you can see it only moves one piece, but if you select this little guy here, it'll move everything that's not masked, which means I can kind of bring this down closer to where it's supposed to be. You can see the legs kind of tilt forward. So in order to keep them kind of lined up, you know, more in line with how you would probably wear them if you were in the leg, kind of get this like that. It's probably closer. And now I'm going to turn this off, and I'm actually going to bring these over and sort of situate them as though I'm wearing them, which is going to be not quite so tilted inward. It's pretty close. So and you can see it's kind of like cutting into the crotch right here. There's something a little weird on these shorts, and I feel like this should this crotch area is a little strange in general. I think that's something I noted when I was kind of looking at some of these pieces that had been printed last year, about a year ago at Star Wars Celebration in Chicago. I got to see all these pieces printed up, full size, and they were pretty good. But there are a couple little things, and I think that was one of them. We can actually take a stab at adjusting that if you want. But anyway, you can see here that they're pretty snug already. Like you can see that the actual shorts are kind of pressing through the legs. So this might be actually a pretty good exercise on how to fix this. And we'll look here. I'm going to move this over just a bit. I'm actually going to reset the pivot points here so that when I move them, I can just move them side to side without affecting the height. You can see this one's a little tiny bit lower now. So you don't want it to dig into the crotch right there. So there we go. That's about as close as we're going to get for right now. Now, the reason I brought everything in is because we're going to make multiple modifications, and if we need to adjust a couple things, like how these line up here, make these thighs a little bit bigger so they're a little bit easier to fit. You see how that's all going to go together. So a thing that a lot of people are going to have to adjust are the shorts, because you have to fit through here unless you print them in two pieces and you're going to put them on. But typically, like the actual screen used C3PO shorts are one piece. So I'm going to make these a solo piece for a moment. I'm going to save this in case I crash here. I don't have to start over. Let's go put this back in the GSEM files. Leg mods. All right. Now it's saved, so if I crash this, I'm not going to be too sad. I don't have to start over. So, a couple ways to do this. There's more than one way to skin a cat, as they say. Like if we just want to adjust the top here to give a little more room, you can see how there's I'm pointing at my screen like you can see me, but you see how there's another red dot across the way? That is because I have the symmetry on. So if I turn it off, let me give you an example here, and I go to draw, it just affects one side. But if I hit X, it turns on symmetry, and you get the double dots, and then whatever you do affects both sides, which is very convenient. We're going to use that right now because the way these are modeled is symmetrical. The real ones are not symmetrical, not on purpose. They're just not. But I'm fine with symmetry on the shorts. I think it's a good place for it. So keep the symmetry on. We are going to go to brushes, which is B, and then hit M for move, and then E for elastic. So we have up here, the brush is called move elastic. We can scale this, and what this is going to do is it's a kind of a gentle way to make some adjustments to the surface here. So like if we need this top to be just a little bit wider, maybe like back here, you can gently open that up without really affecting the legs. Now you can see it starts to look a little weird if I do it too much, but it's relatively easy to fix. Like even if I came in here, I could just move these pieces a little bit, give yourself a little bit bigger opening on the top. Now the butt on these is a little small as well, but the hold on one second. Let me see. My wife is bringing me some food. Oh my gosh, thank you. So good. So you can see how this can be adjusted with the move tool really easily, which is really nice. So that's one way to handle that. Now this is a thing that is more akin to ZBrush. I think Blender probably has a brush like this. Even 3D Studio Max has one, but I haven't used it in a long time, so I don't know how well it works. But Blender has a tool that's very similar to ZBrush, so I'm sure there's something similar in there. Now, if this crotch bump is weird to you like it is to me, you can go in here and adjust that a little bit so it's not so flat and wide in the middle. So that's one way. Is the move elastic. It's a really good one. Now, if you go crazy, you're going to start to really screw up the detail. So keep that in mind. And you can always go and resharpen detail and so forth. But we're not going to get into that today. Same with the legs. So we're going to go back and we're going to turn the legs back on. And you can see how they're conflicting here with the shorts. Now you could use that move tool again and kind of like push it out, but you can see how it's kind of, you know, doesn't quite affect as much as you want. If you make it too big, it starts to make everything weird. But an easier way to do that is to basically select, I'm going to break these back apart. Now, should I break them apart? Yeah, I'm going to take the shins off of the legs again. So you can see these are called polygroups. You know, they're different colors. So what I'm going to do is select this part, and then I'm going to split the hidden ones. So that means that these pieces are now on their own subtool. We're going to do the same on this one, just to save us a little time. Split hidden. So now they're back to being separate subtools. We do have the front and the backs of the shin are in the same subtool, and they're selectable individually if you want to, you know, select one or the other. They're selectable, which is very convenient. But we're going to go back into adjusting these tops. Now there's actually right now there's like a kind of a cool way to do both of them at the same time if you want. We could take these two thighs. I'll do a single one first and I'll go back and show how I would do a double. So you go back to your move tool here, which again is W for move. We're going to center this on the geometry. So when you hit this little button here, like your location button, this will center your gizmo into the middle of the unmasked area, which means if I mask a section and then I hit this, it's going to center it to the unmasked area. That's something, if you don't understand that, we'll get into that in another video, but it's really a powerful thing to understand. And again, in here we can stretch things or mod them this way or scale them completely. We don't want to do that. If you want to keep all these knees and everything the same size, which is the whole point of this, is keeping the important mechanical stuff fitting together properly and modding the more organic kind of things. This is the way I would do this. So I'm going to go to this little gear icon and go to the deformer. And this gives us this kind of a lattice that we can control what we stretch or mod here. See that? But you can see if I pull this, it's affecting this area here, which we do not want. We don't want to mess with the knees because we want to make sure that the knees are always functioning properly once the costume is together. If you deform them, they're not going to. So we can control how many points this lattice has by pulling this little arrow here. It's the closest one. It's the orange arrow is the one we're going to want to pull. And you're going to add a few points here. Now what this will do is it will make it so that when you edit this stuff, it won't edit anything below these points. So, you know, if I come here and I move this out, the knee is not being affected at all, which is really nice. So, you know, if you need to widen the top of the suit a little bit, or sorry, the top of the thigh, you can go, boop, you can widen it here, or you could select all of these pieces here and stretch the top, you know, deselect some pieces and stretch the top a little more, kind of go around and mod that without affecting the knees or the shins or the length of the legs, which is really, really good. Or you can see the back, how it's conflicting with the shorts there. We could go here. Oops, reverse it. Select them all. Now, how I'm doing this is I'm using the masking tool, which is basically Control will mask them out, Control Alt will turn them on, and that's how I've been selecting these points. So Control Alt, grab the ones you want, and then I can move the gizmo and pull these pieces out. Now, I can make this lattice go in this direction too. So let's say I only want to do like this section back here, but I don't want to affect the whole thing. I can just grab this section. You can see how it's not doing anything to the front there. And you can rotate this, and just get your angles right. And this is going to affect the piping detail a little bit, but it's something you can go back and fix. It's also something that a lot of people aren't really going to notice. If you're doing it real subtle, if you're making giant modifications, they're going to notice. But if you're just tweaking it a little bit so it's a better fit, nobody's going to notice that really. But anyway, this is a really, really powerful way to move things around. Now, In 3D Studio Max, there is a modifier when you're working on poly modeling called FFD, which is Freeform Deformer, is what it's called. And it's basically goes in the modifier stack. So if you're working on your geometry, you go to your drop-down menu, select FFD, and it gives you options for how many pieces of lattice you have. Like in ZBrush, you can control that lattice real easy, which is nice. But 3D Studio Max, you select which lattice you want at the beginning. So if you're using 3D Studio Max, it's there. Maya has something similar, and so does Blender. I can't remember what they're called in either of those programs. But anyway, I'm going to back out of this, and we're going to go all the way back to just get rid of this dumb thing. And also, when this is done, if you're done with your modifier, you can hit accept, boop, and say, okay, I backed out. So if you accept that, then it basically solidifies your modification. Now, if I want to modify both of these thighs at the same time, I can basically add this thigh, which is already at the top, and this thigh I'll put to the top, and I'm going to merge these together. Merge down, okay. Now they are in the same piece here. Let me make sure I don't have symmetry on. Turn symmetry off. We're going to center this, and it's not quite perfectly centered between the two because I think one of them's slightly tilted more than the other, but for right now, it's going to be fine. I'm going to manually put this just a hair over. Now, if we go back to this modifier, what is that? And hit Deformer, you can see we've got our deformer just like we had before, but now it's on both sides. So we're going to turn this up a little bit. And if you want to mod, if you want to make them a little wider, you can select both sides like this, and you can scale. Well, let me center this guy here. Oh, shoot. You know what? Hold on a second. One of these guys. Smoothness. There we go. Symmetry. That's the one we want. And then if you have symmetry on, but now I've got to like deselect stuff. God, I feel clumsy right now. It's so much easier when I'm not trying to do it as a tutorial. So now the symmetry is turned on. That's this red arrow here. You can see it affects both sides. So whatever I do over here is affecting both sides. So you need both sides a little wider. You can basically put these two in the same subtool like this and hit that deformer. Use this red guy here to change it from symmetry to asymmetry, and that will be helpful. And then same thing with the backs of the legs. We want those to be pulled out a little bit. There we go. And if you want symmetry in this direction, it's the same feature here. It's this one here. These little outer arrows. Each one of these arrows kind of changes a feature of this deformer. So we don't want symmetry from front to back. We just want to mod the back. So you can see we can pull that back a little bit. And we can go in here and hit accept. Under a little drop down, accept. Boop. And now the thighs have been modded. The knees have not changed, which means that they are going to work fine. So if you print these pieces, now the upper thighs will fit. If you've had to adjust the shorts will fit, and then they fit into the thighs. But the knees still work. The length is still the same. You got some subtle mods so that they fit. We're going to do the same with the shins here. I'm going to put this at the top. Grab this one, move it to the top, and merge down. So now our shins are in the same file here. And we're going to do the same thing. We're going to go to the deformer, and let's say we need the shins to be a little bit longer. I'm actually going to turn this down. Need the shins to be a little longer. You can just adjust just a little bit here. Oops, let me see. Let me get this back on. And, pulled. Oops, I just pulled the wrong one there. There we go. There we go. You can, adjust what you need to adjust. If you need the shins a little longer, or a little bit shorter, you can just make your adjustments here. Now you still have all your detail, everything fits. What I would recommend is, if you don't have a 3D scan of yourself, it's worth trying to put one together if you can. There is a website, which I cannot think of the name off the top of my head. I'll try to find it, and if I can get it soon, I'll put it in the link below, or if someone knows what it is, where you can put in your dimensions into this online website, and it will produce a model, a 3D model of you that is very helpful for putting something together like this, because you can bring your model into ZBrush and then put all of these parts on the model and adjust them to fit. And that's not quite as good as a scan, but it's close. It's very helpful. The reason it's not quite as good as a scan is that if, let's say, your rib cage, if you measure around your rib cage, and I don't know, let's say it's whatever, 30 inches, whatever it is around your rib cage, the shape of your rib cage can vary wildly from person to person. So, like, I've got a kind of a round rib cage, and some people have a really ovalized rib cage, and this could be the exact same length, or the exact same circumference. It's just a let me turn this dumb screensaver off. It could be the exact same circumference, but the shape's very different. So if you're making hard parts for a costume, that can be really, really important. But it's still better than not having a virtual representation of yourself to work with. So if you have a scan of yourself, it makes this process much, much easier, because you can line up the things you want, adjust the things you want to fit. It's really helpful. So anyway, this was just a really quick look at the two main ways that I would make broad adjustments to a hard costume part if I was getting ready to 3D print, as opposed to just scaling the part. I would try to mod the parts a little bit to fit better. So anyway, hopefully this is helpful. I'm doing this as quick as I can, and I'm probably skipping some key things or taking for granted some little aspect that I'm used to doing. So if you have questions, let me know, and I'll try to answer them in the comments. Hopefully this is helpful, and I will let you kids get back to work. Have fun with your 3D printing. I'll put the link to the Jesse M files in the description below as well. So anyway, thanks for stopping by, and we will see you kids. Let me get this prepped up so when I go to leave, there we go, that's me. That's me full screen. There we go. So now when I say, see you kids later, I can just hit stop, and it's not super awkward like that thing I just did, because I'm not editing this. So, okay, kids, have fun. We will see you soon.